There have been days of protests against migrant hotels in Britain, either by concerned parents if you're a normal person, or far-right racist neo-Nazi thugs if you're a deranged communist. I mean, look at these mums. I'm not exactly getting Third Reich vibes, are you? It's all kicked off at a hotel in Epping, a nice suburb of London. Well, it used to be nice before the government decided to bring in a ton of illegal migrants and place them in a hotel just a few minutes walk from a school without telling the parents. Within about 5 minutes of the government doing this, one of the men staying at the hotel had been accused of assaulting a schoolgirl. He'd only been off the boat a few days, his trousers were still wet. He's now in jail awaiting trial, but local families were understandably outraged and protested outside the hotel. The responses have been entirely predictable. Left-wing media went into overdrive calling everyone racist. Lefty politicians called the parents bigots. I'll look at them in a moment. The government continued to help hundreds of illegal migrants a day enter the country, but the worst response was from the police themselves, who were accused of bringing in left-wing counterprotesters to try and goad conflict with the locals.
Look at them all their balaclavas on, mate. Seriously, look at the state of them. Look at the state of them.
The police denied bringing in these counter-protesters and then admitted that yes, they had brought in far-left agitators who are basically standing up for the rights of foreign paedophiles to be allowed to abuse local children. They call themselves Stand Up to Racism, but we should really call them Stand Up for Rapism. Let's have a look at these protesters being brought in by the police. They look like a nice bunch, don't they? Heavy-set thugs from miles away brought in to intimidate mothers worried about their kids. This would be appalling if it was done by far-left activists, but the police are doing this. They're supposed to keep the peace. Instead, they're stoking conflict. They've been caught doing this in other locations as well. Here you can see police escorting Antifa protesters to a migrant hotel in Hampshire. Why do they do this? Is it to intimidate the local mums and dads who are protesting so they go back in their houses? Or are the police doing it to stir up trouble so they've got an excuse to steam in and batter the mums and dads and arrest them like they did in the Southport riots? The police are supposed to be politically neutral, but they're so blatantly on the side of the far left. This is the same police force, by the way, that arrested journalist Alison Pearson for a tweet. Essex Police arrest about 500 people a year for speech crimes. It's almost as if the police aren't a crime-fighting force anymore, but are instead an opinion enforcement squad. After days of protests, the authorities secretly moved the migrants in the hotel in Epping to a rather fancy hotel in Canary Wharf that cost £500 a night, although the government apparently haggled the great price of £11.8 million of your taxes to house 450 Deliveroo drivers. The British government spends close to £6 million a day to house migrants in hotels. It's lucky the country's so rich and has got so much spare money sloshing around, eh? Steel fences were erected around the migrant hotel in Canary Wharf. It's interesting that borders can be enforced in some places, but it's a shame it's only to keep native British people off British land. As the saying goes, you can have one border for your country or 50 million ugly little borders inside your country. A local Green Party politician tried to convince parents that they should welcome illegal migrants into their children's nightmares.
I just think it's really, really important for people to understand that there are no safe and legal routes for refugees to come to this country. This is the only way they can come here. It's on a boat to pay. Yeah, they've got the whole of Europe. But why should we put that burden on the rest of Europe?
But do you not think?
We still have to take responsibility for the fact that we have a lot of stakes in the conflicts and the climate crisis that causes people to be refugees and have to come to another country. They're not choosing to leave their country at their home, their children, their parents.
Our fucking children, you silly cunts! Of our children!
Excuse me.
Of this fucking rage, you silly cunt! Fuck off!
Oh, of course she manages to crowbar climate change in there. Oh, bless her, she's trying and she seems like a nice lass, and it's good that she's trying to bring back Lionel Richie's look from 1984. Hello, is it the destruction of Western capitalism you're looking for? It's interesting that she says, why should we put that burden on the rest of Europe? So she's inadvertently admitted that it is a burden, not a blessing. The truth is that her woolly, big-hearted ideals will directly lead to children being harmed in this country, so she can do one. Left-wing people deal with the way they think the world should be, whereas right-wing people deal with the way the world is. The guy at the end is just trying to keep his kids safe. These virtue-signalling lefties who insist that we must let these men into this country tend to live removed from the actual problem. They should all be forced at gunpoint to take a dozen illegal migrants each into their homes until attitudes improve. Man, put them in her house. I'm assuming she still lives with her parents because she's got plenty of money left over to spend on Deirdre Barlow perms. And let's hear from one of the counter-protesters.
What's the cause today? What's the cause today?
It's the right wingers over there just talking about. They're just a bunch of fascists, really. So
what is it that they support? Because I've just tried speaking to them. They're not talking to me at the moment. So.
Are they? Yeah. Well, I think there's a whole load. So they're anti-immigration, basically.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But they're particularly focusing on the refugees. Because, I mean, even though it's a really small number.
I've seen a poster that's something to do with child abuse and grooming in the country that's happening in...
Oh, yeah, well, they're fixated on that.
Man, this guy's got no idea what he's even talking about. He's just been indoctrinated to hate anyone he's told is right-wing. I don't think they're sending us their best and brightest. And speaking of best and brightest, Labour's Jess Phillips insists that the problem is just men.
Afghans are 20%, according to these numbers, 20 times more likely to account for sex offence convictions than British people. Does that concern you?
I mean, like, I have to look across all of this data and think about where I have to really focus and target resources on the prevention work that I am determined to do.
Do you think there are people in this country who have a culturally very, very different view of women and therefore are more likely to be engaged in these kinds of activities?
Which culture doesn't have patriarchy and misogyny in it? Because...
Do you think?
No, I mean, like I have seen victims and perpetrators from every single walk of life.
Do you think we are a fundamentally misogynistic? I
tell you what the group of people who are most likely to abuse, that is men.
It's just men. Men are bad. There's no difference between having men from Afghanistan or men from anywhere else because men are all the same. They're just bad. Everywhere is patriarchal, so to Jess, there's no difference between Afghanistan, where women are stoned to death and have to have windows bricked up so people can't look in and see them in the kitchen, and Britain, where men like to look at boobs during the darts. Does it matter to Jess that Afghans are more than 20 times more likely to commit sex crimes? Well, why let fact get in the way of a good ideology? If you thought that was a histrionic denial of reality, look at LBC commentator Iain Dale.
And if these people come here, they don't turn into Englishmen, they bring their Afghan ways with them. And we're supposed to like it, and we don't. And what does our politicians do about that? Nothing. Tell us to suck it up with what we've got.
And when you say Afghans bring their ways with them and we don't want them, what do you mean by that?
No, we don't. Pardon?
What do you mean by that?
What I mean is that we don't want to live like they do.
Well,
Why should we?
How do you think they live? How do you know how they live?
Well, I've seen enough, haven't I? It's all on the television. Women subjected to imprisonment virtually, girls...
That's why they're coming here, to get away from that.
Well, why don't they sort their own country out? Why do they want
the
us
Taliban
to help
are in
them
charge.
and then turn on us?
Because the Taliban are in charge, that's why.
Pardon?
Because the Taliban are in charge.
Well, then they'll have to do something about it. If we had rotten governments here, which we have had from time to time, we have a democratic vote on it. If they don't, you can't force these people to do what they don't want to do, and it's nothing to do with that.
You're talking as if these people are coming over here and they're part of the Taliban themselves. The whole point of them coming here is that they were helping us fight against the Taliban.
Oh, right, so that in the future generations, our grandchildren and great-grandchildren are going to be a minority in their own country because your generation wants to flood the country with people that are totally unassimilable to our way of life.
You're a complete dinosaur, I'm afraid. I mean, it's
Me,
absolutely disgusting to say, oh, well, these people bring their ways here, and yet you can't actually articulate what they are. I don't want to hear any more of it, Liz. Thank you very much.
Oh, that pretend naivety. Oh, what are you talking about? Cultural differences between Afghanistan and Britain? It's just so galling. It's Dale who's the dinosaur for still clinging to the wreckage of blank slatism, the idea that you can bring these people here, and as soon as they step onto British soil, all their previous cultural values and mores and traditions immediately evaporate. Iain used to be conservative, by the way, and he actually came to see my comedy show in 2019, but I don't think he'd enjoy it now. The Independent, which used to be a newspaper but is now a website, has run some of the most dug-in lefty pro-illegal migrant articles about the whole thing, flat out denying that the migrants had been moved to the new hotel. But the local Tower Hamlets Council itself said that the hotel is being used, and we saw mattresses being delivered to the hotel so residents can be well rested for the walk to hide in the bushes outside a primary school. And there's also footage of tourists arriving at the Britannia International Hotel in Canary Wharf, where they're booked to stay, only to be told, sorry, we've prioritised illegal migrants over civilised paying customers because the government gives us more money. And there are reams of TripAdvisor reviews of customers complaining that their booking was cancelled. So it seems as if the Independent is peddling fake news on this one. The Independent also ran this article by Victoria Richards. The Epping protests, in inverted commas, make me ashamed to admit I'm from Essex. The first pathetic protest, in inverted commas, was reportedly planned in advance and took place on Sunday night, followed by further disruption on Thursday. The excuse? A 38-year-old resident there was accused last week of sexual assault. The tone she's using! Oh, how pathetic are these mothers and fathers protesting just because a child was assaulted. Not only that, she says this wasn't even something people actually cared about. It was an excuse for their pathetic protest. An excuse, as if the nice, well-to-do, leafy village of Epping is actually a seething hothouse of skinhead racists, just praying that one of their kids gets assaulted by an Ethiopian so that they have an excuse to do some racisms. It's not even a race thing. There were all colours of people protesting, and the woman who apprehended the Ethiopian guy was black. She still is black. Victoria continues. Now, I have no idea about the alleged sexual assault case involving Hadush Gerber Selassie Kibatu, who appeared at Chelmsford Magistrates Courts earlier in the day. I don't know the details or the outcome, neither do these protesters, but what I do know is that their behaviour helps no one, least of all the alleged victim. How does it not help victims to have the place housing similar men closed down? And what almost amuses me, except that it's not funny, is that I wrote only yesterday about the number of sexual assaults and incidents of harassment myself and my friends have experienced on the tube, from being followed by burping, farting men to catcalls, groping and obscene gestures. So now she's comparing the serious sexual assault of a child with her being catcalled on the tube. Oh, and look how she complains about that. But what if I also repeat the sad fact that in almost every incident of male to female violence on public transport, not a single person steps in to help us or to report it happening? How do people explain themselves for this utter failure to call out harassment when it's actually happening right in front of them? Nobody stepped in to help you, Victoria, because if they did, you would call them horrible far-right bigots, just like you did with the Epping protesters. Also, how come you think it's so disgusting that people were doing something about the serious sexual assault in Epping, but you want people to do stuff about you being catcalled? Listening to the residents, they don't sound like neo-Nazis. Here's one explaining how she tried to resolve the issue by engaging with authorities and nothing happened. In April of this year, mother of three Orla Minihane raised the issue of the believed migrant hotel at a council meeting and was ejected for her troubles. Her apprehensions have proved to be prescient, but Minihane, who has spearheaded the peaceful protests, said the main focus now was conveying that demonstrators had legitimate concerns and did not care about the race of the asylum seekers in the hotel. I wouldn't care if they were from Iceland, blonde, blue-eyed and Christian. At the end of the day, they're strange men who nobody has checked, she says. The authorities are so short-sighted. They should have responded to these concerns when they were being made democratically and peacefully. They could have moved the migrants to Canary Wharf before there were protests, but instead they waited until people were pushed to the absolute limit. So now everybody knows that engaging with the democratic process and peacefully voicing your concerns doesn't work. And if you want to get these migrants out of your area, you need to take to the streets. So expect a lot more of that, as it's the only thing the government has shown can work. The reason they were moved to Canary Wharf is probably that it's an urban centre, so less likely to cause friction with families. But also, the counter-protesters, stand up for rapism, are likely to get much bigger numbers in London because there's more left-wing dopes there. So the authorities can hope for conflict that will allow them to steam in and arrest people for far-right thuggery. And the police should focus on keeping the peace instead of acting like Communist Party goons and bringing in their street militia to stir things up. If police are going to show bias, shouldn't it be in favour of the local families paying their wages? And that Green Party politician is wrong. People should claim asylum in nearby, culturally similar countries. It's better for the country and it's better for the asylum seeker. Britain shouldn't be offering asylum to people from distant medieval cultures, only fellow Westerners. It's pretty obvious that the far left only want illegal migrants here as a weapon to damage Western capitalism and nationalism. Anyway, thanks for listening. Please subscribe for more fun videos about the West's inevitable slide into sectarian conflict fueled by our captured communist establishment. And if you want to support me making these videos, you can sign up to my Patreon and get exclusive content, like a Patreon-only interview with Simon Evans that's just gone up. Anyway, thanks for listening. I've been Leo Kears. Bye. Bye-bye.